Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and today I want to do a video because I've noticed a lot of channels or a lot of people starting to try and get into this whole election forecasting thing. And I've noticed a lot of either sloppy methodologies at best to bad methodologies at worst, with some people even having no real methodology other than gut feeling. And I just wanted to create a video of how to actually forecast elections. And I'm going to start by using myself as an example. So let me go ahead and show what my final forecast for 2016 was. Those are all the safe states for the Republicans. And I'll explain why I did what I did and why I got wrong what I got wrong. Massachusetts. This may not be 100% accurate. In terms of how I forecasted, but this is what I predicted the states would be. Anything in the lighter shades were states that I thought would be truly competitive. Anything in the darker shades were states I just dismissed as safe. Sorry, Hawaii. So this was based off of a few things. This was based off gut prediction and looking at the polls and assuming that there was a systematic error in the polls, which was the wrong thing to do. Did I wind up being lucky? Did I wind up lucking out and still getting the winner correct? Yeah, obviously. Good God. Yeah, I wound up getting lucky and I wound up predicting the winner correct. Obviously, you flip Nevada, New Hampshire, Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, and that was the result. But the reason I got these states wrong was I just thought that the error needed for Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania to flip would be too large given national polling and the margins of error given from just about every single poll there was there. New Hampshire was really a pure toss-up, and I just figured in a very close election year or swing year population would vote for Donald Trump. Nevada, a similar thing, but polls had shown Trump with a lead, so I felt a little bit more confident in this one. But yeah. So those decisions led me to predict what I predicted, okay? However, I've worked on developing a methodology that works, and I'm going to go over, not quite this one, but how to build a methodology so you can forecast elections correctly. By the way, ignore this. This is going to go down as these go up. And yeah, Arkansas is kind of throwing some of those numbers off. These are actually a lot. Most of these are actually higher than they were for the 2016 election, but worry about that later. So the first thing you want to do is you want to say, am I going to look at fundamentals? And by fundamentals, I mean, do I look at the history of the state? How much am I going to take the economy into play? Am I going to take am I going to look at candidate popularity, age, that type of thing? So for my fundamentals, I'm really looking at incumbency and the economy, as well as a little bit of state history. And we go over here. I'm going to move over a few cells. Here we go. To the party lean, positive values equal Republican, negative values equal Democrat. And all this does is tell me how far in a 50-50 election will a state lean to one party or another. For example, Michigan and Minnesota at the moment are showing a generic Democrat defeating Donald Trump despite a partisan lean that is Republican. Similar thing in New Hampshire. And this is perfectly okay because the party lean value is about a 50-50 election, not a 43-39 election favoring the Democrat. Okay? So, using that, I'm just going to use the solid colors for right now. States with a more partisan, that are more Republican than the nation as a whole, I'm going to highlight in red. And I'm going to ignore the split electoral votes, okay? States with a partisan lean more Democratic than the nation as a whole are in blue, right? And Hawaii, we can't forget Hawaii. This obviously shows a large Republican win. And in a 50-50 election, this is bad news for the Democrats. Now we can factor in the fact that Trump is going to have an incumbency boost and probably a boost from the economy, because if we look at the economy, and it's not just the stock market and it's not just the Dow, you have to look at all three index funds, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, NASDAQ, which is all tech stocks, and the S&P 500, which is kind of everything combined. You know, the 500, most representative stocks, right? You look at all three of those, and you say, okay, are they going up? Are they going down? Are they kind of staying flat? Flat isn't necessarily bad. It isn't necessarily good. They're currently on an upswing, and they're exiting a market correction, which is a good thing. So you have to say, okay, that favors Trump a little bit. Second thing, consumer confidence. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it going up? Is it going down? Is it kind of staying flat? Again, staying flat is kind of eh. And right now, consumer confidence is on the upswing a little bit. Even during the market correction, it was still doing fairly well. So that will also help Trump. Then you also have to look at inflation. Right now it's low, and it's actually lower than the historical average, which is a very good thing. If you want to look at the health of an economy, don't look at unemployment rate, look at inflation rate. The lower, up to a point, the lower the better. You want to be, most nations try and target 3%. I think that's way too high. I think an ideal target would be 1%. But you want to be above 0 but below 3, essentially. So when you're in that range, that's very good. Okay? Unemployment rate. Right now we're below the natural rate of unemployment. Great. And what is the Federal Reserve doing? Are they doing nothing? Great. Are they doing something? That's not a good thing. Contrary to popular belief, that is not a good thing. And also, when you look at the Federal Reserve, if they are doing something, how dramatic is it? The less dramatic, the better. That means they're close to where they want to be. And if they're doing nothing, it means they are where they want to be, which is great. So as it stands, an election should favor Trump right now, at least based off of those fundamentals of the economy, state history. So you could flip those states. Maybe even Virginia. I'll leave Virginia blue though. Okay, so that's 2 flips, right? Then you have to factor in the fact he's an incumbent, and incumbents generally get a boost in get a popular vote boost because they are the incumbent. And I averaged it out, excluding certain events that were obviously going to hurt an incumbent, like the Great Depression, and I could only find one, so I took out the highest Republican. I took out also the highest outlier in terms of popularity boost from incumbency. And on average, the incumbent gets about 3% on average. So that would be enough to say flip those 2 as well. However, now we look at approval rating, and this is what the average is. I'm not adjusting the polls, and I'm only using likely and registered voter polls because those are more representative of the population. In addition, I'm not adjusting them because every pollster has a house effect. Some of them favor Republicans, some of them favor Democrats, and in general, they tend to balance each other out naturally. I don't really think that there is a bias in this compilation. There might be a slight one, but it's so minor, I don't think it's actually worth it. And you want to decide whether you're going to focus solely on that month alone. Are you going to weigh every poll equally? Are you going to weigh them less and less as time goes on? For example, after March, we're going to get this column's going to be replaced by February. This one's going to be replaced by March. And then I'm going to combine them and put them into this slot as the first quarter of 2019 mean, 2019 Q1 mean. So I'm going to weigh them even less. But as it stands, Trump's at 40, a little bit under 45. I could round that up to 45 and this up to 54, which means this would round down to 1. Well, that means he's below 50%. You would think, well, that shows that he's going to lose by about 9 to 10 points, maybe 8 to 10 points in a presidential election. Well, that's not exactly true because people will vote for a candidate even if they don't approve of the job they're doing. Look at congressional incumbency rates for proof. Heck, even Obama was below 50% at the time of the 2012 election. So, but does it indicate that he's not as popular as maybe he should be in order to win? Yeah, he might lose. And I'm going to go ahead and flip a few states. This map is pretty familiar. And actually, Trump was less popular in terms of, was he just approved, disapproved. But he also had a very bad, he was not exactly popular. to say the least. Okay, and then we need to look at national polling. Are you going to focus heavily on the more recent ones, or are you going to kind of do the same thing that I've kind of done, which is I only started as soon as they started releasing generic Republican versus generic Democrat polls, but this is as close as we're going to get right now. I'm using the 2016 results as kind of a dummy, and when I say a dummy, I don't mean as like an unintelligent thing. A dummy is kind of just there to give so that you have data. And I'm using this in a very specific way. I'm using the 2016 results because they are the most accurate poll we have of Trump versus a Democrat in a presidential election because they were the actual poll that occurred. Okay? And until he declares, I'm probably not going to include Howard Schultz, but because at the moment his average is above 5%, I'm actually going to include him when he does declare. As soon as we start getting, or as soon as we get the likely nominees out of the way, okay? Also, are you going to look at state polling, which so far I am. And so you can do this in a somewhat subjective way. You can create a mathematical formula that takes everything into account. It really just depends. So as it stands, if I remember correctly, those are that way, that is that way, that is that way. And so as it stands, this is what my forecast is saying that the election results would be. Now, note the way this is written up, this is if the election were held today. Because I do expect some regression towards mean, and I expect undecided voters, to dramatically decrease. Let's go to a state that has a ton of them. Utah. Those will sort out. Tennessee, those will sort out. I'm expecting undecided voters to sort themselves. 6% undecided in Alaska, 10% in Arkansas. 4% in Minnesota. I'm expecting that to actually sort out. Let's see, a state with high one. 11% in Utah, for example. So using that and looking at states that are close enough to be competitive, you can see Pennsylvania flipping, which hilariously flips it to the exact opposite. I think that's pretty funny. You can see these states flipping again. Wouldn't be outside the realm of possibility for Minnesota. Will it happen? We'll find out. But that's why I have a model that forecasts one way and my own personal forecast shows another. Is because I'm using the model as a baseline, but I'm assuming regression towards mean. Anyway, sorry for the kind of boring statistics / how to build a model, but I think it's important that people actually build and publish their methodologies, because that way you can critique them, and that way you can make recommendations. That way you can say, okay, this person does it well, this person doesn't do it at all, this person does it poorly. And that way you can say, well, I may disagree with what this person is putting out, but at least he has a reason for doing it. Rather than, well, it just sounds like they're making it based off gut prediction and looking at the most recent poll only. Okay? Anyway, thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.